You're listening to the Cyberwire Network, powered by N2K.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to N2K Cyberwire's Hacking Humans podcast, where each week we look behind the social engineering scams, phishing schemes, and criminal exploits that are making headlines and taking a heavy toll on organizations around the world. I'm Dave Bittner, and joining me is my co-host, Joe Kerrigan. Hi, Joe.
Hi, Dave.
We got some good stories to share, but first, we will be right back after this message from our show sponsor. But first, a word from our sponsor, KnowBe4. Where would InfoSec professionals be without users making security mistakes? Working less than 60 hours per week, perhaps. Actually having a weekend every so often. We get it. User behavior can be a challenge. But users can also be an InfoSec professional's greatest asset once properly equipped. What do we mean by that? Well, stay with us, and in a few minutes, we'll hear from our sponsors at KnowBe4 on that very question. All right, Joe, before we dig into some stories here, we have a bit of follow-up. What do you got for us?
We do have a bit of follow-up, and George writes in to say, hello, I'd like to provide a comment concerning pianos. This is hearkening back to your story a couple of weeks ago about how brokenhearted you would be if you thought you were getting a free baby grand piano and did not.
My deep affection for pianos,
right.
Yes.
In case Dave and Joe are not aware of this TV series, UK Channel 4 has produced The Piano. The premise of this music competition is that a grand piano is placed in a train station and selected visitors are encouraged to play the piano in public. Hidden in the background are two famous pianists watching and grading the performance. Dave, would you sit down at the piano and play something?
There was certainly a time in my life when I would have. Actually, there was when I was in college, I worked as a singing waiter on a lunch and dinner cruise boat in the Baltimore Harbor. And we would often have a couple-hour break between our lunch cruise and our dinner cruise if I was pulling what we in the biz call a double. So if you've been to the Inner Harbor, there are several hotels down there. And I would go into one of the hotels, which up on their third floor, they had a big atrium that went like the whole, 4 or 5 stories high. And up on the third or fourth floor, there was a grand piano. And I would just go up there and play the piano. And because I was dressed like a waiter, I looked official enough.
Nobody stopped you.
Nobody ever stopped me.
Yeah.
I was wearing a tie and, very sort of uniform look. But it was a nice way to kill some time and unwind and practice the piano and that sort of thing. So I've never been the caliber of what anyone would consider to be a good pianist. I always joke that I can play piano just well enough to make people who don't know how to play the piano think that I do know how to play the piano. But anyone who does know how to play the piano would instantly know that I actually don't know how to play the piano.
Okay, well, the selected winner is then part of the annual UK Royal Festival Hall. I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah, that's cool.
But so you don't think you'd make that cut?
No.
He said there are snippets of the TV show available on YouTube. You can watch the entire series if you VPN to Ireland or any UK location and access www.channel4.com.
Interesting. All right.
Because UK TV works that way.
I may ask my pal Jason over at Grumpy Old Geeks to go to Sweden, as we say, to get the series for me. He's quite adept at that.
Yeah, he also says thanks for the excellent cybersecurity podcast and briefings.
Yeah. I would just add one more thing. There's a wonderful documentary called Note by Note, which shows the making of Steinway pianos. Quite interesting if you're into that sort of thing. That if you're this high level of craftsmanship that comes with Steinway pianos. So I'll have a link to that. The whole documentary is on YouTube.
Oh, good.
So we'll have a link to that in the show notes as well.
Very good.
All right. Well, why don't we move on to our stories? Joe, you want to kick things off for us?
Yes. Speaking of going to the UK, I have a story from Tom Gherkin, like the pickle, I guess.
Right.
I like the pickles. He's a technology reporter with the BBC. And at booking.com, the travel site, the head of internet safety is a woman named Marnie Wilking.
Okay.
And Marnie Wilking has said that there has been a 500 to 900% increase in phishing scams that they're aware of at booking.com. And she is saying that these are powered largely by AI, which is interesting because if you remember back a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about the Verizon data breach investigation report.
Yep.
And Verizon was saying, we see a lot of people using AI to make their programming skills better, but we don't see it getting used a lot in these breaches and attacks.
Okay.
Now, here's the big difference, though, is that Verizon is basing this off of corporate customers. And Ms. Wilking is talking about just regular end users of booking.com.
Right.
So I would think, personally, and this is speculation on my part, and as you know, as our listeners know, I am a big fan of wildly speculating, there's a reason for this. That what's happening here is that lower skilled attackers are using artificial intelligence to help them write more believable phishing emails for sites like booking.com, and they're targeting customers of the service. And I think that there are two things I think that contribute to this. One is the phishing attacks are getting better. And once they get better, by better I mean more effective, that leads to more of them. And the other thing is that AI permits the automation of phishing, right? Now I can just say, here's a list of names, write me a bunch of phishing emails for them, and I'll just take these files and shove them into an email machine, a piece of code I've written, and send them on their way. So now I have the capability to automate and scale much more effective phishing emails.
Yeah.
I think that is what's leading to this big consumer-focused phishing attack.
Interesting.
The attackers are definitely using AI to launch the attacks. This is Marnie Wilkin again. She says that the attacks are mimic emails far better than anything that has been done to date. And these attacks try to convince people to give up credit card details by sending them fake, convincing-looking internet booking links.
Okay.
And after the seller or someone pays up, rather, the scammers either disappear, right? They just go away. They take the money and run, like Steve Miller says. Or they try to scam them with follow-on scams, which we've talked about many times on this podcast before.
Sure. You got a hot one.
Yep, we got a hot one. And one of the things I like to say about these scammers is they will keep coming after you until one of two things happen. You either run out of money or you wise up and realize it's a scam and stop talking to them.
Right.
Once you do that, they go away pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Once you tell them, I know this is a scam, I'm not talking to you anymore, goodbye, they leave. Scammers often target websites that look like Booking.com and Airbnb because they allow people to list their own places to stay. We talked about Airbnb a couple of weeks ago about somebody having their account hacked. But I didn't know that Booking.com also did that, where they had, like privately owned homes out there.
Right.
I didn't know that was possible. I'm not a big Booking.com user.
Yeah, me neither.
Also not a big Airbnb user. Have you ever used Airbnb?
Yeah. Just well, I would say in our family, my wife is the one who leads that charge. But yeah, we've used Airbnb and we've used VRBO.
Verbo, they say.
Yes, to book vacation places and weekends away, that sort of thing.
My son just went down to the beach with a group of people, and they used Airbnb, and they said everything was great.
Yeah,
it worked well.
Yeah, I've been pleased so far.
I should be clear. By and large, that is going to be your experience with these folks.
Yeah,
right. Also, Wilkins said she's not entirely down on AI because they're using AI to remove fake hotels. We've set up AI models to detect those and either block them from getting listed in the first place or take it down before anybody has done a booking. So I think that's good.
Yeah, that is good.
And then this is where I think this article gets a little bit problematic, is because Wilkins says, or actually not the article's fine, but the discussion turns into more of a problem area. Wilkins says she is calling for hotels and travelers to use two-factor authentication. And then she says it involves an additional security check, such as inputting a code that is sent to you, calling it, quote, the best way to combat phishing and credential stealing.
Okay.
And I agree with that, but that's not particularly helpful when you're getting scammed, when you're entering your credit card information into a bogus site. I don't see how multi-factor authentication helps you there unless you're trying to prevent somebody from accessing your booking.com site.
Right.
I don't think the real problem here is what's being addressed. She also urged people to be more vigilant than before when clicking on links. And you and I have discussed this. And even though we say this a lot, don't click the link, it's not really helpful advice.
Yeah.
I don't think don't click the link is helpful advice. Helpful advice.
Yeah, I'd say it's limited in its helpfulness.
Right, exactly. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
The article quotes Jane Hawkes, who's a travel industry consumer expert. She says that it's time for these providers to step up and make people aware of the scams. They have a responsibility to advise travelers ways to minimize the risk of getting scammed, she said.
Mm-hmm.
Consumers should do their own research with due diligence, which I agree with. It is in the end, it's always going to come down to consumer. But I think these companies have an obligation to their customers here, and I think that just telling people use multi-factor authentication and don't click the link, I mean that's helpful. Yes, those are good suggestions, but I think more needs to be done here. I like that they're using AI to find these fake ads. I think that's fantastic. That's the kind of thing I think that needs to be done at a corporate level to protect the customers. I mean, if you're having success with that, and those fake listings aren't even showing up to the customer's not even seeing them, or it's happening before the customer's making a booking, that's a win.
Yeah.
More of that, less of the telling the customer to be cautious. I mean, of course, tell the customer to be cautious, but that cannot be the sole source, the sole onus of any of these problems. And I'm not trying to bash Booking.com here. I think they're doing a good job of doing both these things.
Yeah.
But that's not what we see generally in the real world. Think about trying to get a Facebook account back.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that we've got a story coming up for Cyberwire that just came by today. That it's a story from Engadget, and it's titled "How Small Claims Court Became Meta's Customer Service Hotline."
Really? That's good to know, because I have a cousin who just lost access to her account.
Right. And basically, that's in a nutshell, that's what this story's about, that the only way to get Facebook's attention is to take them to small claims court.
I think that's fantastic.
If you need to get your account back.
I think that's a great tactic.
Well,
because it's small claims court, right?
I mean, it's a great tactic if you have all the time in the world.
It doesn't take long to get someone into small claims court. Small claims court is deliberately low overhead and quick, right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess it depends on where you are, right? It depends on the state you're in.
That's a low. I mean, that's okay. That's a crazy low bar, I think.
Okay.
I mean, you guys, a million times, their excuses, they can't do this at scale and they shouldn't do this.
Well,
and I think there should be. I guess I wonder, should someone like the Federal Trade Commission get involved to say, if you are either uninterested or unable to provide meaningful customer service, then we have a problem with that.
Right.
Particularly if you have no meaningful competition.
Yeah. Well,
right.
The most important thing that Facebook would say to that is, Dave, yes, of course we have great customer service.
Yeah.
We take care of our customers. Our customers have phone numbers where they can contact us.
Right.
Our users are not our customers.
Yeah.
They're our product.
Yeah. All right. We will have a link to that story in our show notes.
It's a pretty good article.
Yeah. My story this week actually comes from something that was actually bothering me over on Facebook.
And Dave, I've reached a conclusion.
Yeah.
Neither one of us are ever going to get jobs at either Meta or Google.
No, I'm okay with that.
That's not going to happen.
No.
And I'm okay with it too. But
yeah. No. Not. Yeah. Probably never going to advertise on the Cyberwire either. Yeah. Actually, we've had a good relationship with Google, but Meta, no, never.
No.
So I have noticed a pattern on Facebook that I'm sure will ring a bell to many of our listeners. And the pattern is on some of our community Facebook groups. So let's say, for example, the local classified ads group.
Ah, yes.
Okay. There are two types of ads in particular that are posted over and over and over again. One of them is for air duct cleaning services, and one of them is for car detailing services. And what caught my eye is that basically the same sort of thing is being posted over and over again from different accounts using different photos, but the technique is always the same. And the deal, I'll put in air quotes, is always the same. So let's use the air duct cleaning service posts, for example. Okay. So what'll happen is there'll be a post that says, it'll be from an individual, and it'll say, hey, I'm just started my own business. I'm really trying to make a difference here and make ends meet. And along with my husband or my business partner, we've got an air duct cleaning service. For $250, we will come clean your air ducts in your house. You don't pay anything until we're done and we've completed the job and you're happy.
Right.
If you're interested, send me a DM and I'll get your details and we'll get it started. Thanks, Lori Jane.
Right.
Right. Now, on the surface, that doesn't sound like an overt scam because they're not asking for money ahead of time.
Right. And then they're promising to do the service first.
Right.
Right.
Right. But I kept seeing these posted over and over again. And there's a version that works very much the same way with car detailing. Slight variations, but it's definitely working off of a script. And so I couldn't help wondering, like, what's going on here? What's the deal?
What's the end game?
Right. What's the angle? What are they doing here? Because it's definitely not on the up and up, but it's also not a blatant scam.
Right.
So I started searching around, and lucky for me, so I didn't have to chase this down completely all on my own.
Somebody already found
it.
Yeah. Good.
So there's a YouTube channel called Pleasant Green, and it's run by a gentleman named Ben Taylor. And Ben, on this YouTube channel, most of what he does is he chases down these sorts of scams.
Really?
Yeah. And he was wondering the same thing. And so I'm going to walk you through what Ben discovered here, and I do hope we'll have a link in the show notes, of course. I hope everybody will go and check it out. I'm willing to say if you like this show, you will enjoy Ben's YouTube channel. One of the things I like about Ben's channel is that a lot of the folks who go after scammers in an entertaining way are kind of nasty, and it's almost like they're pulling their own gotchas. It's like a revenge kind of thing.
Right.
Whereas
Now,
Ben is not that way.
I like that, Dave.
I know you do, but I don't. Ben's is much more driven by curiosity and, trying to figure out what's going on here.
And probably to help people to stop from falling for
exactly.
The more informed you are about these scams, the less likely you are to fall for them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So he's a kindred spirit to you and I.
Right.
So one of the things that he pointed out that I was unaware of is that the folks who post these things, the profiles they create, almost always have two first names. So the poster in this case will be David Luke. John Robert. Jennifer Jane.
Right.
Right? And not sure why, but once he said this, I started keeping track of the ones I was seeing. He's absolutely right.
Huh.
So that's a tell, If you see it being posted by someone who has two first names.
It's like a lot of actors.
It's a red flag.
Like Bob Patrick.
Right. Or the three named actors. Right. Or the single name actors like Madonna.
Yeah.
So the person's profile is fake, not a real profile.
Right.
But so what Ben did was Ben decided he was going to engage with one of these people and try to figure out what was going on. So he sends them a message. They exchange information. Someone calls him. He talks to them. And they say, okay, we want to come clean the ductwork in your house. And of course, Ben doesn't want to give him his real address.
Right.
So he looks up a house that's for sale on Zillow in his neighborhood, gives him that address, and waits to see what's going to happen. So to Ben's surprise, on the time and date when the person is supposed to come clean the vents, he gets a call from the guy who's at the house to clean the vents.
Really?
Yeah, at the house that's for sale. Right? So
wait a minute.
Yeah.
So he sets up a call with someone he knows is a scammer.
Yep.
And then he gets a phone call from the guy that's there to clean the vents.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. So now Ben's wondering what's going on here.
Right.
Right? Because Ben was shocked that anybody who showed up, he did not expect someone to show up at the house. He figured it was going to lead to some path where someone was going to call him and say, oh, listen, the guy's on the way, but I need, $100 or, just any of these things where people start making excuses to get money from you.
Huh.
But that didn't happen.
Okay.
So he apologized to the person, said, oh, we'll reschedule. So he calls the person who he thinks is the scammer again. And I'm paraphrasing here. When you watch the video, I don't have the exact order of operations completely right.
Right.
But essentially what it comes down to is that through asking questions and doing research and so on and so forth, he figures out that this is being run by a call center out of Pakistan.
Huh.
And they're using fake profiles and they're using real businesses to generate leads for real technicians. So if you call these folks and say, yeah, I want to get my air ducts cleaned. Hey, listen, does your company have a website? They'll say, oh, absolutely. And they will send you the website of a real air duct cleaning company that has nothing to do with anything in this interaction.
Right.
Okay. In fact, Ben called one of the companies who they claimed was the company who was going to be doing the work. And they were like, no, we don't, that's not us. In fact, we're not even in your state.
Right.
They knew
weird.
nothing about this. Right. So there's all these little scammy things. This is built on a house of lies.
Right.
Right.
It sounds like it.
Yeah. It is
like
not.
None of this is adding up.
None of it adds up. But in the end, it is a leads generation business. So these telemarketers in Pakistan call local tradespeople in your area, people who will clean ductwork, people who will detail your car, and they say, listen, I'm going to sell your services. I'm going to charge $250. I'm going to give you $175. You good with that? And the tradesperson says, sure. You want to send me leads? Now that's one of the least fun parts of my business.
Right.
And so that's what they do. Now, obviously, the problem is you have no idea who's showing up at your house.
Right.
You have no idea who's coming to clean your car. They could be great.
Yeah.
They could be horrible.
Yeah.
And there are stories, if you search news stories for air duct cleaning scam, for example, you'll find stories where the people come to your house and they say, we cleaned the air ducts, but boy, they were a lot dirtier than we thought they were going to be.
It's like going to a mechanic.
Yeah, it's
right.
gonna.
No, your motor mounts are bad. Your engine's gonna fall out.
That's right. You need more blinker fluid, or it's just not gonna work. So they'll either charge you more than they had promised, or they won't actually do the work. There was one news story I saw where basically, somebody came with, the equivalent of a shop vac, stuck it in a vent and ran it for an hour, and then said, okay, we're good here, and left. And
the truth of the matter is you probably are just as good as if you'd gotten your ducts cleaned. Anyway, I mean, right. I got my ducts cleaned when I got a new air conditioner put in.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't think you need to do it.
You don't. And I think they do. There's an aside, I think, I saw on one of the things I was reading here that like the federal guidance, the folks in the federal government who kind of protect consumers with these things, they said the big problem or the big confusion is that people confuse dryer vent cleaning with air duct cleaning.
Right.
Dryer vent cleaning is very important,
yes.
particularly if you have a gas-powered dryer.
Absolutely.
But air duct cleaning really isn't that important. It
No.
doesn't really make that much of a difference. So anyway, you don't know who's showing up to your house. And the person who does show up at your house is absolutely not going to be associated with the business that the person who sold you the job claimed they were associated with.
Right.
So any of the checking you do of reviews or insurance or any of that stuff, this is a stranger showing up.
Right.
And it's the same thing with the car detailing services here.
They're just going out and generating leads for potentially legitimate businesses.
Right.
But they're not vetting these guys at all.
No.
And you're going to get whoever they want.
Right.
Or whoever they can get, whoever they've reached an agreement with.
So to what degree, Joe, do we categorize this as a scam?
That's a good question, Dave. Somebody does show up and they will perform the service.
Right.
Maybe. I mean,
But it was all sold to you under false pretenses.
Yeah. I mean,
all of the selling was lies.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, isn't it usually the case that all the selling is lies? I mean, even when you go to get a car, all the selling is lies.
But in this case, like if I put a message out to my friends and said, hey, I'm looking to have my car detailed.
Right.
Right. And they said, hey, call Kerrigan's car detailing service. They've been great for me.
Right.
And I call and, your cousin Lenny comes over and does a great job detailing my car. Like that's a line of truthful recommendation.
Right.
And
absolutely.
Right. And so I guess in my mind, a big part of this is a scam.
Yeah, it is. I agree.
Leading all of the stuff at the head end is a scam. And the posts that are on Facebook are scams. And I wish that either Facebook or the administrators of the groups would do a better job of shutting these down. But of course, we know how that works.
Right.
Yeah. So, very interesting pathway. I have to say, I was surprised to find out that I guess it's less scammy than I thought it was. Like, there's actually a chance you could get the thing that you're paying for. But
yeah, I mean, the only scam part is the pitch, right?
Right.
And maybe they're lying to you about being licensed and bonded by the city. You are licensed and bonded by the city, aren't you, Mr. Plow?
Yeah.
You know?
But I guess the advice to our listeners is don't engage with these people.
Yeah, don't engage.
Right.
Don't
so it is
engage.
scammy enough to say this is not the path you want to go down.
Dave, whenever I need a service, one of the first things I do is I ask people I know.
Sure.
Who have you used in the past that you liked for this service?
Yeah, absolutely. Hard to beat.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will have a link to that YouTube video in the show notes. Highly recommended. And like I said, I think folks who enjoy this show will find the Pleasant Green YouTube channel by Ben Taylor. You're going to like that as well. It's a lot of pretty interesting stuff. So do check that out.
I just subscribed, by the way.
Excellent. All right. We will be right back after this message from our show sponsor. We were talking about making users into an asset for security professionals. Simply put, users want to do the right thing. They're often just lacking the knowledge to do so. That's one of the reasons KnowBe4 has released Security Coach, a real-time security coaching tool that takes alerts from your existing security stack and sends immediate coaching to users who've taken risky actions. For example, imagine a user has visited a high-risk website or tried to open a document containing malware. Existing security tools will likely block that action, but the user might not understand why. Security Coach analyzes these alerts and provides users with relevant security tips via email or Slack, coaching them on why the action they just took was risky. Help users learn from their mistakes and strengthen your organization's security culture with Security Coach. Learn more about Security Coach at knowbefore.com/securitycoach. That's knowbefore.com/securitycoach. All right, Joe, we are back, and it is time for our catch of the day.
Dave, our catch of the day comes from Christopher, who writes, "Hi, longtime listener, first submission." The style of this one seems so outlandish, and it is pretty outlandish, Dave.
All right, here it goes. I was planning to say hello, but now I think greetings are unnecessary. First, I already know you and all your loved ones very well. Secondly, the occasion for which I'm writing to you is not the happiest one for a friendly greeting. You've heard that the internet is a dangerous place, infested with malicious links and hackers like me. Of course you've heard. But what's the point in it if you're so dismissive of your internet security and don't care what websites you visit? Times have changed. You read about AI, judging by your browser history, and still don't understand anything? Technologies have stepped far forward, and now hackers like me use artificial intelligence. Thanks to it, I can get not only access to your webcam and record your fun with highly controversial video, but also to all your devices and not only yours. And I saved a special sauce for this dish. I went further and sent malicious links to all your contacts from your account. Yes, someone was smarter and realized that this was a trap and you were hacked. But believe me, about 70% of your contact list bought into my scam. They have as many skeletons in their closet as you do. Some turn out to be hidden homosexuals.
No!
I've accumulated and analyzed a huge amount of compromising data on you and those with whom you communicate. Very soon, I'll start a crossfire. Everyone will receive the full history of correspondence. And there are enough of sensitive moments and recordings from the other contact's webcam. I can go further and put all these files, as well as the recorded fun of you and your hacked contacts, with hardcore videos into the public domain. You can imagine it will be a real sensation. And everyone will understand where it came from. From you. For all your contacts, and you will be enemy number one. Even your relatives will take a long time to forgive you and forget such a family shame. It will be the real end of the world. The only difference is that there will be not 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, but only one. But there is no such thing as a completely black stripe without any white dots. Lucky for you, I have no idea. Luckily for you, in my case, the 3M rule comes into play. Money, money, and money again. I'm not interested in your worthless life. I'm interested in people from whom I can profit. And today, you are one of them. That's why transfer $1,390 in Bitcoin to my address within 48 hours. You don't know how to use cryptocurrencies? Use Google. Everything is simple. Once payment is received, I will delete all information associated with you, and you will never hear from me again. Remember one thing, my crypto address is anonymous, and I generated this letter. You can call the cops, do whatever you want. They won't find me. My demands won't change, but you'll just waste precious time. Hasta la vista, baby. Wow.
This is awesome in terms of just over the top.
Yeah.
This is the old sextortion, the sextortion stuff that never really worked, right? Now we have sextortion pros who are literally murdering people.
I'm a little anxious just having read this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty it's a lot.
It's a couple of things. Number one, it's stepped up in the in the culpability thing. So now I'm not just going to expose you, but I also found out about all your friends.
Right.
So they're trying to make you think that they don't have any information. This is just a scam email that people send around to spam lists to try to get you to respond, just to send them Bitcoin. Fortunately, though, Dave, I did look at the Bitcoin address.
Oh, you did?
I did. Nobody has sent this guy any money either in Bitcoin or in Bitcoin Cash. There are both actually 2 wallets out there.
Huh. Interesting.
And I went to a blockchain explorer that showed both of them to me.
Huh.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah. The request for $1,390 seems oddly specific to me.
Right,
sure.
it is. It's interesting that it's in Bitcoin, like two separate words instead of one.
Right, which maybe cuts down on filtering or red flagging. You know? Yeah.
And also interesting is that the address is actually real on the Bitcoin blockchain.
Yeah, that is interesting.
And finally, no, that Bitcoin blockchain address is not private.
Right. By virtue of the fact that Joe was able to look it up.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Also interesting is that he is working with one of the things this guy wrote in the email says, I see that you do a lot of reading about AI. Who doesn't? That's like, I see you breathing a lot of air over there, Dave.
Right.
You like water, Dave?
Right, wait till your friends find out that you use oxygen. Right.
And then he says, I used AI to hack your account, which is, we had stories today about how it's used to generate phishing emails, but it's not. I mean, and actually, you can ask it how you. Yeah, I guess you could use AI to hack accounts. Okay, so I'll give that a pass.
Plausible,
right? It's plausible.
Oh my!
But
all right. Well, our thanks to Christopher for sending that in, and of course, we would love to hear from you. If there's something that you would like us to consider for the show, you can email us. It's hackinghumans@n2k.com. We want to thank all of you for listening, and of course, we want to thank our sponsors at KnowBe4. They are experts in helping users do the right thing through new school security awareness training. That is our show, brought to you by N2K Cyberwire. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. Your feedback ensures we deliver the insights that keep you a step ahead in the rapidly changing world of cybersecurity. If you like our show, please share a rating and review in your podcast app. Please also fill out the survey in the show notes or send an email to hackinghumans@n2k.com. We're privileged that N2K Cyberwire is part of the daily routine of the most influential leaders and operators in the public and private sector, from the Fortune 500 to many of the world's preeminent intelligence and law enforcement agencies. N2K makes it easy for companies to optimize your biggest investment, your people. We make you smarter about your teams while making your teams smarter. Learn how at n2k.com. This episode is produced by Liz Stokes. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. We're mixed by Elliot Peltzman and Trey Hester. Our executive editor is Brandon Karpf. Peter Kilpie is our publisher. I'm Dave Bittner.
And I'm Joe Kerrigan.
Thanks for listening.